Hi, welcome to the channel. Today's video is titled Andrew Wilson confronts Amaranth's Amaranth's husband on what OF really is. Interesting. We're going to check this video together and I love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Let's dive right in. This is a membership shout out or a member shout out, and thank you so much for signing up or joining to be a member here on this channel. Your support is immensely appreciated, and if you want to sign up or want to join this channel to become a member, use the link in the description box below. Thank you so much once again for joining and being a part or being a member on this channel. Thank you so much.
But you decide to settle for a OF Muppet? Why are you talking shit about my homie Kate?
I didn't do OF when we met. We decided to go into that together.
that is a good
and where do you
point.
think the drip came from? Hello?
But I mean,
You think you had this before?
but isn't that objectively worse in a way?
No, he's not settling for like
You
an
both
OF
went to
Muppet. It
OF
was more of
together?
like it was more of going into a business opportunity together.
Yeah, but that's what that's
Wow.
what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't that in a way be worse? Like, if you had a wife and she wasn't engaged in prostitution, and then you engaged with her in prostitution, I consider OF to be.
Where's the prostitution?
I consider it prostitution.
Oh,
It's selling sex.
okay. Well, I can consider anything to be a label.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
Yeah, but I think that there. Well, look, I'm just telling you how I consider it.
What?
I consider it prostitution. I think that sex works broadly falls under the category of prostitution. But if that's the case, it's like if your wife wasn't engaged in prostitution, then was, right? How that seems to me even more objectively worse than if she was a prostitute and then maybe later she wasn't or whatever. That almost seems objectively worse. Like almost you allowed the corruption to happen type of thing. I think that that's the intent of the chat anyway.
well, I think the part I think that I focus on is like the settle, and so it's like, yeah, I think anytime you feel like you're settling, that's like probably something you should, consider again. But like, that's the presupposition being made, right? Because if it's not settling and I'm okay with it, then what's the issue? I guess.
Well,
like it's our marriage, not. If he doesn't want that,
that's true. But I think from the at least if you look at the social categories of morality, if you're talking about in this case prostitution, that's usually going to be in one of the lower categories of morality, and we're going to consider that low on the moral scale for work or whatever it is that you're doing. So if that's the case, if you're like, well, this person was not engaging in that immoral behavior before, and with you now they are. They'd almost think like you assisted in the immoral behavior. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, or at least I just didn't weigh in strongly against enough.
Right.
I guess would be the thing. I mean, it started off as like kind of a compliment, and then it went to like, why'd you settle for this person? So it feels like he's just wanting to attack her, because I don't think any of that characterization is particularly true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's commonplace for especially the Christian right to be pretty heavily against OnlyFans work and prostitution because they consider it categorized the same exact way. And so if that's the case, like that's part of their pushback in society is they don't want the normalization of it. That's the whole goal, right?
No, I agree.
Nobody
I think
wants
it's
it to be
terrible
normal.
for like a normal circumstance. Most girls who do OF, they will not succeed, and they just ruin any kind of social dynamic they would have had with a potential partner or like a workplace or anything. I think most of the time it's not good. I think the difference with us was we already had each other. We already were in a good financial spot before even starting social media in general, as most probably should be.
But the criticism that you would hear most often there, because I've heard this a lot, right? Like there are OF or sex workers or prostitutes who will come on the show and discuss their, kind of like the inner workings and dynamics. And what I've noted is there are some who will say like, look, I'm a success story. And that is true. Like almost nobody's going to succeed at OF. That's true. Almost nobody's going to succeed as a podcaster, and almost nobody's going to succeed as a great welder either. Okay, like it's really hard to succeed as one of the kind of like cream of the crop. You probably know this from IFBB. There's lots of people around who are really strong and really buff, but they just never get anywhere. It's like most of them, right? And the cream rises to the top, as they say. But I would just
Let me say this, because you married your wife, and then not just are you okay with your wife selling her body online, The both of you thought it's a business. That is a business. I'm trying to understand this. Like, is this sane? Yes, everybody do what you want, but that is a business. Not only do the both of you don't respect yourselves, you don't even respect your marriage or your union. You don't. And I'm sorry. But even Sodom and Gomorrah, they learn. What?
Point this out that one of the big criticisms that comes when sex workers say that is that they're just trying to pull the ladder up. So the idea is like, hey, it actually behooves me to say not to engage when you're 20 years, or not in your case 20 years, but like 10 years younger in sex work, because now you become a competition, right? So you're pulling the ladder up by saying, well, you couldn't be successful at it either. That would be the other criticism back.
Sure, I've heard that, and I can definitely see that perspective, but it actually is just very unlikely just because of how saturated the market
Look, I
already
agree.
is.
I'm just giving you the
I know.
criticism, but I actually do agree with you that it's like extremely unlikely that that most women will succeed at it, and it's just baffling to me why so many still go into it.
But I think another point to Mr. Wilson's point is that with you might
There was a moment there where there was some disagreement about the categorization or the term used, prostitution. Willow, in your notes here, you write, you had a disagreement with Andrew calling sex workers prostitutes, and you write, sex workers have far more rights and access to their money. Prostitutes are more human trafficked. Do you want to elaborate a bit?
Yeah, I've actually been waiting for this moment because I watch you guys a lot, and
This is more so Andrew's argument.
Okay.
It's your moment.
I know I'm
It's
ready,
your
Andrew. I'm ready.
Get me a beer for her moment. I got it.
This
Here we
comes
go.
mainly because I am also focused on starting a nonprofit, and a big focus on that is the exploitation of children and human trafficking. My best friend was a prostitute. She passed away when I was 18 years old from heroin addiction and prostitution, so I have firsthand experience with the diverse difference on how being prostituted, pimped out, especially on the streets directly. There's no choice. You don't have access to money. You're lucky if you eat, get to shower, get to sleep, all of that. You're put on drugs, and then sex workers, it's a choice. You do an I-9 or whatever, and
What's that?
you pay taxes on your OnlyFans money, and like you get to choose like buying yachts and traveling the world and like eating food and having nice stuff. So I think there's a huge difference on like being a sex worker and OnlyFans model and having a choice. And then there's also that middleman of the escort, where that person is still most of the time pimped or working for a business, but they have far more access to their money. And I just think that's the difference of like your rights as like a prostitute, being on the streets, working out of hotels and motels, and then also the being online or being a stripper too. It's like most of those people have access to their money, and prostitutes don't. That's basically it. So
Let me say this. Me, I consider all of them to be the same. Because you will not walk up to a prostitute and ask her, are you really a prostitute or are you trafficked? You will not ask that question. Because the first thing that the market sees is this one, for lack of a better term to use for YouTube word. This one is an olosho. That's what comes to lots of people's mind. Do you go to say, okay, let me know, are you an olosho or are you an OnlyFans or a sex worker? Nobody cares about those terminologies or asking those questions. They are all doing the exact same work. So bringing up the term is trying to make it or see reasons why that kind of work is justified or justifiable reasons why that is okay. So it's just like you going up to how do I use? I'm trying to look for the right one to use in comparison. I can't even think of anything that I want to use in comparison that are closely similar to each other but can't be compared, right? It makes no sense. The fact that you're even trying to justify or give reasons why this is different from this. The first thing that comes to anybody's mind is you're both doing the same job. I really don't care what's the terminologies or what's cute name you want to use to it. That's where I'm getting at. Because lots of people now be like, oh, okay, they are not engaging in prostitution, they are only engaging in OnlyFans. Hello? Are you both not selling your body for whatever in exchange for what? Ego, cash. Is it not the same thing? Or did the work, did the name change all of a sudden or change overnight? Because their own is behind the camera, the other one is doing physical. And it's not even only behind the camera because potentially lots of these people tend to pose or escort. They tend to pose to be what? To pretend to be something they are not. Even did the terminology change? It did not change, because you're both doing the same work. So categorically, all of you fall under we are the same boss.
I think okay. So I listened to what you had to say, but here's my counter.
Please give it to me.
You're just redefining what prostitute is because you want to make a
Bam.
delineation because sex
Exactly.
worker sounds, thank you,
Cute.
at least socially less bad, less impactful.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's really what you're doing. You're just redefining terms, even though, no, you're wrong.
We're defined legally too. They're defined legally. Like they changed those laws in most
They're
cities.
defined legally
to protect prostitutes.
Yeah, but prostitution's a universal term. It's not just a localized one. So whether or not we locally define it a different way than, Venezuela or whatever, universalization of the term is not really in question. If you have sex with a man in exchange for money,
Yes.
you're a prostitute. Or
No.
if you do it in exchange for goods or in exchange for services, you're a prostitute.
But most OnlyFans
thing.
models do solo work. Like you do mostly solo
So
work
if
and
the-
only do work with your husband. So how could she be you
But
know what I mean?
Let me help you out. If a woman, right, goes up into a hotel room, okay, and she gets naked, and a guy jerks off to her naked while she's playing with herself, and he finishes, did she engage in prostitution or not? If he pays her,
I would say yes, she did.
then your argument's moot here, because
Most women these days don't go to hotels and
hang on,
sleep
hang
with
on,
men,
hang
though.
on,
They
hang
just
on,
go
hang on,
online.
hang on.
He's using that analogy.
Your argument would be moot. If you consider that woman to be a prostitute, the only distinction here is a video screen. And so it's like, I don't know how you make that argument in good faith because you just contradicted yourself. If it's the case that a woman goes up to a hotel room, gets paid money, and plays with herself until a man ejaculates, and all you put between that is a barrier of a screen, how do you not still consider it prostitution? That makes no sense to
Keeping the
me.
money or giving it to somebody after?
Well,
it's like my important distinction on
so
that.
then
What's my
OF is
business
giving a
with what's-
percentage of money to a digital pimp. I mean, what's
yeah,
the
I can
distinction?
agree. I think it's mainly when it comes from
well, hang on. But you
protection
can't
of
just
women.
agree and then still want to redefine because it's like, what's the difference between the guy comes in, your black pimp comes in and runs security, and he has a toothpick in his hand? He looks like he's wearing a suit similar to this, and he comes in and he has a toothpick in his mouth, and he's like, hey man. I'm a pimp named Slickback, and you got to give me $30 of the $100 you just made because I was outside making sure nobody came in here and bothered you.
You piqued my
and the
curiosity.
prostitute gives him $30, and out he goes. What's the difference between that and her
No.
just having 30% automatically deducted from what she made to the digital pimp? What the fuck is the difference?
Wait, how would you define prostitution? Because no one's defined the term, and so
I did define it. I would consider prostitution to be sexual favors, right? Or selling sexual services in exchange for profit or goods or money or services.
I mean,
So like, hey, if, I'll have sex with you if you give me this part in a play, I consider that prostitution.
I can understand the argument because you're looking from currently and you're saying like with the technology available, this should be considered as that. I feel like a lot of the stigma and antiquity around the term is because of what it physically actually was.
What do you
right?
mean?
I mean, like,
Did it change? Before you continue, sir, did it change? See, this one now is giving the analogy. This woman in question is giving the analogy where if she collects the money, she give it to charity. Hello? Wetin concern me with where she carry the money go put? The same work now you dey do. That's the truth. So the fact that these people are trying to find reasons how to re-justify or redefine the word or the meaning of prostitution and trying to separate prostitution from sex worker is what I'm trying to understand. It makes no sense because again, we've got so many English that they want to even use it to find like this OF now they are saying OnlyFans now they are saying no, it's not. Eh. Eh, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? This one is just a what? Digital media prostitute. It's the same thing. Different from standing on the road. It's the same thing. Why do you think now we have lots of people that would prefer, or rather prefer to do this digital one? I'm listening. So the logic behind it here that this one or these two people are trying to redefine the terminology makes no sense, because that's what everybody know, and it's not even about condemning what you're doing, but because you know that what you're doing is wrong. Let it concern me if you carry the money, go and give charity. If you use the money to build house, whatever, it's not my business. But it's the same work you people are doing. So don't come and excuse one thing and say this one, this one.
People actually, like the woman would become undesirable. She would be kind of downcast in society, and then she would get like meager amounts of money, and then be kind of physically, like used by men.
Can you explain how that was worse society? Like, how's that a worse society that there's a stigma?
Oh no,
around
there's not.
sex
But
work?
it's like
it seems like that's a better society.
We put a
to me.
distinction between playing Call of Duty and shooting someone, right? And you could argue that like there's an amount of that where it's like, well, I'm pulling triggered someone else's avatar.
Wait a second, I got to take issue with this.
Sure.
So, I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You can have like you can have the digital deed of like I play Red Dead Redemption, and I'll like lasso a chick and run her on the railroad tracks just to watch a train hit her because I think it's hilarious, right? There's a big distinction between that and real-time application. So I agree with you that nobody's actually getting hurt in Call of Duty. This is all fiction. This is all pixels on a screen, right? This type of thing. That's not the case here. This is not a digital display. This is a human display with the intent of creating a sexual environment so that men can basically be sexually gratified in exchange for resources. I don't know how you get around that exactly.
For me, the point was actually just that, like, definitely real war violence. Would you call like video game war violence? I would say not, right? It's a representation, but it doesn't meet the criteria because there would have to be something in material reality which was happening for there to be violence. So, like, if I say cartoon violence, why do I have to caveat it with cartoon? Because we're talking about, because we're making the caveat because this is something not happening in objective reality. Sure, but then I feel like you lose some granularity with the term when you just throw that in the same. I mean, I can understand doing that. I don't see it that way because I think you actually just lose context, right? Like when you go, oh, she's
I think it adds context. Like, doesn't it add the most amount of context? Like, because
you're being reductive, though.
I think that it's reductive the other way. I think that I think you're parsing instead, and that's where the reduction's going. I think that my term much more broadly captures what it is that people are talking about when they're discussing prostitution, and I don't understand why like a porn star, for instance, the only distinction is that you're viewing it through the lens of a monitor versus in person. You're doing the exact same thing, though. How's that not prostitution? I really don't understand that.
I think it just depends if you define it as like, is a male getting off to this, or is she fucking somebody in the same room? Whether it's like masturbation, like I said, someone has a cuck fantasy, or they just like to watch.
Sure.
Okay. Is she with the guy in a physical space? I think that's how most people would define prostitution.
So then by that definition, you would have to consider OF models who slept with men to be prostitutes.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah,
That
and then you
definition
would
for
also
sure.
have to say that all porn stars were prostitutes, right? But
Yeah.
do you see, though, how now we're only parsing out you with your particular type of content? That's not prostitution. Only all of this other type of content is. Doesn't that sound really convenient to parse it out that way? Like,
I don't know.
because it excludes me.
I feel like it's still important though for like the individual, like in the case she mentioned, where it's like some prostitutes, they don't have a choice who they sleep with, right?
Well, I consider that slavery. Not
that's
so I
human
don't
trafficking.
I don't even consider that to be prostitution. So if it's the case that you're being forced to sleep with men against your will, that's not prostitution. There's no intent there. right? That's sex slavery. That's a whole different ballgame, right?
Exactly.
People who are
Sure, you
human
could have multiple
trafficked.
labels, yeah.
Yeah, they're human trafficked. You don't need to call those people prostitutes because they're not. And I don't think we would. I don't think
That's
most people would be
different
like,
from this.
you were sold into sex slavery when you were 10. You were a prostitute. That doesn't even sound right, rolling off the tongue, right? So I think that we
Yes.
would put that in a different category of a sex slave, like a legitimate one. I'm not talking about the LARPing sex slave shit, but like that would be slavery. I don't think that fits the criteria. Prostitutes have agency. It is true that they do conventionally go to pimps and have less access to their money. They're paying them for protection. But there's many of them who do have access to their money.
Who's paying their pimps for protection? Because most people are either pimped out by their abusive boyfriends, or they are taken off the street. I mean, even here in California alone, like having a gorilla, but there's like 3 different
I'll
distinctions
give you some
between
examples.
pimps,
Yeah.
you know, and gorilla pimps especially are the most
I'll give you
violent,
examples. I've
and,
had.
they abduct people, and most prostitutes don't get.
I'll give you
like,
some examples.
Give away $30 out of 100. Like you give the whole 100, and you're lucky to get a McDonald's cheeseburger and a
Well,
change of
then
underwear.
how could you make the distinction that this relationship isn't a pimp prostitute relationship? If
Because
he
everything is
hang on,
subjective.
if he's getting a massive portion of that money because they're married. In fact, because they're married and share assets, he's entitled to 100% of the money.
Well, doesn't
So
that
does that
depend
mean
on,
that
like, prenups for
he's her
signs, stuff like
pimp?
that?
Well, hang on. Let me ask you. Does that mean he's her pimp? Because in this case, there's sex work going on with his wife, and he's entitled to 100% of the case. In other words, he could legally right now drain all of her accounts right this second, or him, right? And just leave tomorrow and spend all of it, and it's not illegal. So it's like, how would that not make that the same relationship you're talking about?
Again, think it's just like subjective and by choice on like who suggested it first, like how mutual that decision is, you know, because you can be in relationships where you're manipulated, you're gaslighted into it, you're convinced like, hey, this is going to.
I feel like I'm being gaslit right now, honestly.
You're a hot woman
It's
and
very
like you're
convenient
capable
for
of
us
it.
to
But I
How's
think
this
it's
not
all-
gaslighting? I mean, isn't what's going on right now? You're trying to get me to accept a definition of prostitution that would be, one, ahistorical, and B, wouldn't actually encapsulate what it is that we're trying to talk about, what we're really discussing, which is women who are engaging in selling sex or sexual gratification to men and women in exchange for goods, services, money. Like, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about a prostitute. And that matches with a much more historically accurate term. And by the way, there have always been elite prostitutes who did have access to their money. Absolutely.
Those are escorts.
Well, I'm talking in the historic term, right? There's
That
always
is a
been.
historic term.
Yeah, there is historic term. Isn't it called the oldest profession?
No, I agree with you. When I'm saying about escorts and prostitutes, there's levels to this. There's like distinctive levels to like a prostitute. Sex slavery is underneath prostitution.
agree.
Then there's escorts.
But hang
who
on,
do
hang
have
on.
more access. They dress higher.
I don't mean to
class,
be
they get better
nitpicky here, but
experiences.
I have to be a little bit nitpicky. I don't think that you're saying when I hear you say this, it doesn't sound like there's levels of prostitution. There's granular difference between the types of prostitution you're engaged in. That's the difference. It's all prostitution. This is
all
the
under sex
hang on.
work.
This is the box of
sex work's a
prostitution.
better descriptor as well.
Sex
Yeah, I
work.
think it's under sex
No,
work.
sex
and then
work
there's-
falls under the box of
It's
prostitution.
like EDM, and then there's
prostitution-
drum and bass, and there's rhythm, and there's dubstep. It's like sex work is
Okay,
the
yeah.
genre,
Read the
and
definition.
then there's the subgenres. Please go ahead. I'd love it.
Yeah, so I just Googled the definition. This is from Oxford Dictionary and just also off of Google. Prostitute, a person, in particular a woman, who engages in sexual activity for payment. Do you disagree with the definition?
Well, like if I record a video of myself right now masturbating online and then sold it to somebody,
Yes
that
or
wouldn't
no?
be me.
Yes, it
technically.
would. You'd be a prostitute.
Under this
I think the
definition,
engagement is
but you decide.
You know the problem. This is it. It's good in one case, it's not good in the other case. So because this other case is not good, then we will not call it that. Oga, pick a lane. Let us know where you belong. Stay one place so that we'll know where you are going. You cannot be picking and choosing how you want to redefine or how you want to define a particular um term that lots of people already know the meaning to. For example, we already know that everybody knows what sex slavery is and what prostitution is, right? Everybody knows that there's no need to, we're not countering that. But the way she's making it seem like, okay, when you see a prostitute, then you ask the person, are you doing this on your own free will, or they are pimping you, or they are forcing you? Hello? How does that even make sense? Do you think the person will come and tell you that, oh yes, so they pimp them the person, or the person is here against their will? Use your tongue to count your teeth. As for the other one, she did not see anything wrong with it, because again, and their boyfriend, because this one is willingly, is not a pimp. But if it was forced, it would be what? A PIPMP. You see the game? You see the one? This, you see how they are playing it? Because see, that's the thing. When you listen to these people, you understand that okay, it's good on this side, but it's not good on the other side. Because tell me why you and your husband, you're engaged in whatever that is. Your husband is okay, because I wanted to use allow, but I don't think that's even the right word. Your husband is okay with his wife having exposing her body potentially other men will be paying her. If that's the case, you paying her to see her body, and you're okay with it, and you're what? You're the manager. You're, as long as the money is coming in, baby girl, do what you're doing. Oh, I love you, baby. Eh? How do you even do it? Because it's not make it doesn't even make any sense to me in my head. Even when I said it, like I'm even trying to make sense of it. You're talking of boyfriend. The boyfriend collects his own share or his own share. Husband is collecting what? Share. What's the difference? Willingly and not willingly. Are they not the same name? Is it not PIMP? Or is there a different name attached to it? Because this one is husband. Haven't you seen other cases where the husband too do it? So this one is different because guess what? The husband is the manager. These women will never cease to amaze me at all. They will never cease to amaze me. And then you are coming to give different names as to different prostitute. Okay, sex workers. Let me use Olosho. Olosho sounds really good. So your YouTube will know this. There are different names to the Olosho thing, or different level to all of them. They are still doing what? The same thing. You expose your body, oh, you sleep with different people, oh, you collect what? Exchange. Cash. Is guess what? The same thing. It did not change. Just because maybe your own is behind camera. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They should stop. See, again, this is what I keep saying. You could lie to other people, or you could lie to everybody. Don't ever lie to yourself. Don't ever do that. But again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I would love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. What are your thoughts exactly regarding this topic, especially in regards to this S worker, the pimping, and the husband and the wife in mutual agreement doing this, and that people are trying to drift away from it because they don't want to use the word, because using the word pimp or prostitution makes it sound bad, but they want to use a generic or a cute name to redefine it or redefine the meaning. What do you think about that? I really love your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video. This is a shout out to the members or those who just signed up to be a members. Thank you so much for your love and support on this channel. It's immensely appreciated. And if you want to sign up to be a member here on this channel, you can click the link in the description as well and join to be a member. Thank you for your love and support on this channel.